Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mikey intern Ned Reynolds in the studio talking about getting old. Obviously, tonight's going to be a big deal for those of us who just can't let go of football because the NFL draft returns in its hourly coverage, which it's interesting to me. I mean, yes, you can place a bet on anything, but the popularity of gambling on what team is going to pick what position interests me because it blows my mind.
Mike, it's absolutely absurd.
It is, and I mean, without saying that, yes, I would have to agree. I don't know if it's specific players. I think you can at that point, but I think the more popular choice is just position pick. And right now, the Chiefs at 31, favorite to be going for an offensive line position.
Oh, yeah. I would be shocked if it's not a huge offensive lineman or maybe an edge rusher. But the kid who seems to be the primary choice of most of the guys who know all about this is Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Big, huge guy. It's a combination offensive and defense. He's well over 300 pounds. But they need, and this is obvious from the Super Bowl and from games. Yeah, might remember last year, the Chiefs got to the Super Bowl, but boy, they got there by the edge of their little skin on their teeth. You know, how many lucky breaks did they have along the line, and it ran out on them?
It's the worst 17-1 team you've ever seen in your life.
So they need protection on the blind side, on Mahomes' blind side, and I think that's what they'll go for. Picking at number 31, who knows? You just do not. The Chiefs do. They have a pretty good scouting report, but I don't think anybody else, because there are so many particularly good linemen, especially in the Southeastern Conference, Big Ten, maybe some who are lurking in the ACC and so forth and so on, but we'll see. I think the number one pick is probably going to be the kid from Miami, the Ward kid, the quarterback. I'm anxious to see where Shadur Sanders.
Dude, I don't even want. You're just going to make me angry if we start talking about that.
He's received so much publicity, it's engendered by his dad.
Well, yeah, of course.
I don't think the kids. He'll probably go in the first round, but does he go high in the draft? I'd be surprised.
Riding the coattails of Travis Hunter, which is it just blows my mind that it's gotten this far. He's not a good quarterback, and if he goes in the top 20, whoever picks him up, they're just trying to sell tickets. That's all they're doing.
Probably the Giants, I imagine.
I really hope the Chiefs do go, and I want to also just add a little thing. I don't want to make it sound like they were a bad team last year. That's not the case. You win games with whatever you have to do. The Chiefs figured that out. So they weren't horrible. It just eventually you're going to have a team that knows exactly what your weaknesses are, and they're going to exploit every single one of them, and that's exactly what happened against Philadelphia.
They've got some good players on Kansas City's team, and it's a matter of molding them and keeping them in condition, which they have. Oh, they're pretty much set. They don't need to draft any starting players as such other than the linemen.
Just some big dudes up front to protect that blind side of Patrick Mahomes. So we'll see what happens. My gamble is on what time that first pick is going to be, and it's probably past my bedtime. So we'll see what happens if I can make it. I'm going to try my best. All right. Now, there has been a little bit of controversy in paying college athletes, recruiting, all that stuff. A judicial decision come forth yet?
Has not. The judge has said, no, I'm not going to render a decision. The judge is a she, and she's been overlooking this case for the last several years now. She's out in California, out in Oakland, and says no until the NCAA and the committees get together on roster sizes. I'm not going to approve the plan, which indicates that most of the plan, the $2.8 billion that would have to be paid, she's agreed on that, and she'll okay that. But revenue sharing for college athletes can't be done until roster sizes are decided upon, and that has not been adjudicated yet by the lower courts and by the lower cases of individuals who are judging over this. So until that happens, she won't offer an approval, and this may end up going to trial. And you don't want that, because July 1st, which is when they want all this to be in place, ain't going to happen if they go to trial.
No, and then they also have this thing called discovery, which is going to be not a good look on some of the people involved in this thing. So I guarantee you they'll pay whatever that she says, and hopefully they can get it buttoned up. But God, what a world we're living in. You're talking about players on colleges getting a revenue share. But somebody should get that money. It definitely shouldn't be all the NCAAs, that's for sure. Last but not least, the St. Louis Blues return home to face off with the Jets. They've got to win, man.
No thank you to TV. What time do they face it off tonight? Now, this is in St. Louis, gang. The Winnipeg Jets lead that series 2-0. So you're looking at the Central Time Zone audience. 8:30 is when they face that off. Central Time. That's 9:30 Eastern Time. All planned on by TV. That's what they wanted scheduled, and I think it's absurd. You talk about being past your bedtime for the draft. That's past my bedtime for any kind of winning goal and so forth. I do think the Blues will win at least one of these two games they have in St. Louis. First one tonight, though, 8:30. Second one Sunday at noon. We'll see what happens.
Probably will be the only way that I'm actually able to make it to the Chiefs' first pick is staying up to watch that Blues game. So the St. Louis Cardinals finished up their series in Atlanta against the Braves yesterday. Did they finish with a win?
Cardinals broke their losing streak on Tuesday night and slipped right back into it on Wednesday. Had a chance. Game was tied 1-1 in the 8th inning. Atlanta Braves, who are not real good at the moment, have so many injury problems. Well, they got a couple men on base in the last of the 8th inning, and then the Cardinals did their usual changing of pitchers and so forth and so on. And a guy named Eli White, who is not a really big name, but he is on the Braves roster. He's a 30-year veteran from Clemson, 30-year major league veteran with the Oakland A's for a while and so forth and so on. Anyway, he is a bench player for the Braves, hits a 3-run homer, and that's the ball game. Atlanta 4, the Cardinals 1. Cardinals take the day off and come home to St. Louis this weekend to host the Milwaukee Brewers in a 3-game series. That'll be a very important early season matchup with the Brewers, who are probably the chief contender in the National League Central Division.
Royals supposed to play Game 2 in their series against the Rockies yesterday.
They were supposed to.
Yeah, it got rained out. I was just looking at their schedule, though, so they got the double today, which this is great for me because I'm just going to come back in the office and listen to baseball all afternoon up until the point where the Blues game starts and then watch the draft. So, yeah, I've got a lot of sports today, but the Royals have the double today. Then the Astros come in for the entire week, and it's going to be a busy few weeks.
They have to play a doubleheader because this is the only time the Rockies come in. Only time they meet this year. That's an interdivision ball game. So, indeed, it'll be Colorado versus Kansas City at Kauffman, and they'll probably start at about 1 o'clock, both games. It is a doubleheader. And then, as you mentioned, it's the Houston Astros who are coming into Kauffman Stadium this weekend. That's a pretty good division series and a pretty good test for the Kansas City, because Houston's down. They are not the Houston Astros of the past, but they can still rise up and beat you, and that can be difficult. Now, speaking of difficult, the Springfield Cardinals got themselves in a jam. The Wichita Wind Surge tied the game in the 9th inning and won it in the 10th. Yesterday, playing the Springfield Cardinals, it was Wichita 7, the Springfield Cardinals 6. And this is the Springbirds, who started out so well, have begun to slip a little bit now. They're better than this, so they need to get that ship rightened before they return home next week.
Yeah, they do, but they're still having a hell of a season. We'll see what happens there. I wanted to ask you, do you think that Rockies-Royals game today is going to be double-ticket, doubleheader like you need?
No, I think it'll be consecutive afternoon games.
Let's go, man. That's what I love to hear. All right. Last but not least, NBA playoffs still cruising down the highway. Do you get any surprises yesterday?
Not really massive surprises. The Boston Celtics continued to win, beat the Orlando Magic. Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat. Pretty good series, but the Cavs, who are a real surprise team this year, won at 121-112 over Miami. Both those teams are up 2-0. Houston Rockets tied their series with the Golden State Warriors. Houston 109, Golden State 94. That series a game apiece. Now they play out in California. More action going on, and it'll continue for the next several weeks in the NBA and the NHL.
Could we get any busier, Ned?
Say it again, sir?
Could we get any busier?
Probably not, unless we get the Missouri State Bears in the playoffs. And
nothing else
great.
I want to ask for right now, Ned. You have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.